modes. Randomizer, of course, means that every enemy in the game is replaced with a randomized.
Yeah, it also looks like we have a hard mode, though these runners are very experienced, so I don't expect that to change how hard they're going to be.
Yep, and of course, on top of all that, it's swordless, so there will be no swords in this run. A few things in the game are adjusted to make that possible, but that means we're going to be seeing a lot of item strats. And then, of course, we have all dungeon. So that means that players will be required to complete all 10 dungeons in order to complete the game. That will give us plenty of time to see all that Randomizer has to throw at us. We will, of course, see all 10 bosses, or 12 rather, or possibly 13.
So Kohrek did win the first round of this, so this is actually Osse's breaking point. If he loses this match, unfortunately, this will be his last match for the tournament.
Yep, and we've got a bug net on Lumberjack Cave. So that means that Hammer Aghanim 1 will be required. No bug net strats.
That brings up the question, is if Aga's required early, do you go and get the bug net?
Yeah, do you want it just for Aga 2? And of course, since this is hard, the bug net can't be used to catch fairies, so that's not a consideration.
No, so they won't be picking up the bug net. Let's be honest here. And a Bombos
medallion. Kohrek's picking up that fish for the merchant. It's always a good thing to have near the village and enemy. Giving that fish to the merchant, of course, gives you an 8 bomb drop, a full magic refill, and some other assorted goods.
It's definitely worth it to save the rupees to buy those 50 bombs instead. So far, the enemy placement hasn't been too terrible. We saw a Beamos in a weird spot, but...
Osse's down in the well, but he's got no bombs to open that door. He does find a bottle of blue goo.
Now this is hard, so the blue potion is a little bit nerfed. It only does 7 heart healing and half magic return.
That being 7 hearts, with the maximum hearts in hard mode being 14.
Yeah, so...
The sick kid has the boots, which can be claimed with that bottle right from the well. So nice early boot.
It's so far being pretty kind to him. And Ossie picked up a bomb drop, so he's gonna go back into the well.
Kohrek right behind him.
Yeah, it's pretty safe to assume that they're not going to miss items over each other in Kakariko. I mean, as early as Ossie got those boots, Kohrek's going to find them pretty shortly.
Right. And I guess I missed it, but our tracker didn't. We did have a map check, although in all dungeons that's really not as much of a consideration. But we've got a pendant East Palace, 5/6 crystal on Desert Palace, and a crystal on Hera.
And I just noticed the bottle vendor had a green 20 rupee, which is the sword in the normal versions, but because we are playing swordless, that's kind of nothing.
Right, so if we weren't playing swordless, that would be our sword as well. And we'd be all equipped for those sword dashes.
biggest question is going to be where is the hammer? Because that does tempered sword damage, and that's going to be their major weapon for this run. So the earlier they find that, the more comfortable they're going to feel.
That's right. Hammer is the most reliable way of doing damage in Swordless, and also required for a few things in Swordless. It's required to check the tablets now. You need the hammer instead of Master.
Osse catching up to the guy in the village, so he gets the little text dump from the devs on it.
Osse's thinking for a moment, but he is going to take that piece of heart. Kohrek said no thanks to the bloomer.
So without anything that really opens progression, we're going to do our South Shore run.
Osse's blind going for that prize.
Now, it is good to note that because this is Randomizer, we also don't know which bosses are in which dungeons.
That's right, we could have 4 Trinexes really early, or we could have no Trinexes at all, and we could have a Ice Rodless Seed. Kohrek also did pick up the hammer in the dam, but
so Kohrek is probably really happy with that weapon. But Osse's gonna find it shortly too.
Yep, so we've got some good gear showing up pretty early.
And we got B strats. This is my favorite strats for this room. Golden Bee hits, I think, up to 12 times before it tries to leave, so this is definitely an effective method. Now, they couldn't use Bombos because without a sword, the medallions are fairly useless.
That's right, they only work on specified tiles. There's the normal tiles to open up Mire and Turtle Rock, also some added Bombos tiles in Ice Palace in case those are required.
And Kohrek found a hookshot in the, well, mini Shadow Cave. Again, doesn't open anything, but it's a very nice item to have. And it's one of the few things that actually stuns things in hard mode.
Yeah, in hard mode, the hook shot stuns, but not the boomerang. But yeah, that is still not anything that's leading us towards a dungeon just yet. Some nice gear to be certain.
Kohrek loaded is probably going to fake flipper to Zora next. But without the Moon Pearl, he kind of loses some of the value behind it.
We'll be able to walk those waterfall cave. Oh, is he setting up a water walk?
Yeah, he set it up in Ice Rod Cave, so you might get a little more value than we thought. Though these murder birds are gonna make him run around.
Yeah, the water walking enemies are one of the terrifying things of enemy.
Yeah, even when you're water walking, if you get hit, it's still gonna be fatal.
And of course, you can't touch land here, or that ends the water walk.
There's our second sword.
Just checking the bottle prize. And it's blue goo, not bad.
Not gonna complain about that. That's a good find. Ooh.
Oh no, he got hit.
He can still run it because he got back to land, or he got hit in the shallows.
Yeah, so he'll be able to check Zora. He wasn't set up to check the ledge anyway, if I recall, so this isn't too much of a problem.
No, you have to store the water walk and swim all the way to that ledge in order to actually get it, which is very slow.
Osse is right behind him with the water walk.
There was only 5 rupees on Zora Ledge, though, so that's not something. Oh, Zora
Little fish selling the lunar orb.
He's being nice.
So if I remember this rightly, that means that all we need is a glove, and we'll be able to reach the dark.
True, but all we need is a lamp, and we're required to do Aga.
Kohrek's getting those Bankarak.
So the next question is Hyrule Castle or Eastern Palace?
Eastern is a pendant, but this is all dungeons, so that's not too big of a problem. But without that bow, we won't be able to finish it. Looks like he is going to Agate. Is he? Or is he just checking Hyrule?
It is Randomizer, so while Armos isn't in logic,
oh, that's true.
they can finish Eastern. Currently, we're a glove away from Dark World access, but a lamp will give us, we'll make Aga in logic too.
So he's checking Hyrule Castle right now. Well, there's our glove. That settles it.
Well, yeah, we won't see Aga until the end of the game then.
Alright, so in that case, after he finishes this Hyrule Castle check, where is he likely to be? Do you think he might go to Eastern after this, or will he go into the Dark World?
I feel like with the hammer, you might want to dive something like Thieves Town, something you can full clear with little effort. And then do all those checks in Village of Outcasts. Possibly hoping for that mirror. But Osse and Kohrek are going to make the same play into Hyrule Basement. And there's a cannon guard, which don't actually exist in the game, but we put them in just for fun.
Yep, those are a cut enemy, but they are in the game files fully functional, so they've been added to Randomizer.
Those blue knights, the ones that overhand their sword, or dagger, or whatever it is, they love to stand on top of you and never let go.
You know they're the elite guard because they hold their weapons in the deadly reverse.
And just a shield for all our efforts. One of our two that we're gonna get. Looks like Kohrek is gonna check back of escape.
Nothing in the back of the escape, but there is a key back here. Which, if I'm not mistaken, means it was required to drop in from the grave? I suppose not, since there was nothing back there anyway.
Yes, but we had the gloves anyway, so it's fine. The bigger thing is that they are leaving an item, I think, in the chest, unless we found the map. We might have found the map, though. I haven't been keeping track.
I don't think I saw the map, which means they might have left an item in the Dark Cross room. They are entering the Dark World south of Link's house, and Ossie's giving us our map.
Green pendant in Swamp, 5-6 at Pod. And then we got a blue pendant at Ice Palace. A little bit of sync here in Hype Cave, so they can collect their rupees together.
So far, our routes have been pretty identical.
Yeah, I think the only thing Aussie has ahead of Kohrek, or Kohrek has ahead of Aussie, is the back of escape play. But nothing in Hype. Swamp and Ice being pendants could mean that flippers are way up in Ganon's tower as well.
That would be a good time. Flippers behind a required Ice Armos fight would probably be the icing on the...
Ice Blind or something would be amazing.
Yeah, in all the Randomizer seeds I've seen, I don't often see that Ice Armos fight being required. Titan's mitts are on the pyramid.
Yeah, Aussie taking a quick look at Pyramid, getting ahead because of it. I like this route from Aussie because that hookshot means he can also jump across this river.
Yeah, meanwhile, Kohrek is going west, presumably towards Village of Outcasts. So we'll see when he gets around to that.
He'll have to save and quit after Dig Game though, so we'll see what he does next. Just 3 bombs from Dig Game though. It might be a while before Kohrek finds those mitts. I think he's going to do the Village of Outcasts route.
Yeah, he's probably heading towards that Kakariko.
Aussie might do Back of Escape and then do the same.
Yeah, so if they both start with Thieves Town and Skull Woods, it might... Oh, he's checking the King's Tomb, so if there's something in here, those early mitts from him will give him a bit of a...
Ether? Ooh.
So we'll see if that causes any problems for Kohrek. This King's Tomb can often be a location that players forget, so if the Ether Medallion is required, we'll see if Kohrek...
Yeah, depending on what we find, Ether can be pretty big, but without Titan's mitts... Well, there's our 3rd medallion. Without Titan's mitts, it won't be a game changer, I don't... Because you need Titan's mitts in order to get to the dungeons anyways. This is a very cruel Skullwoods room.
Yes, large spikes in small corridors. Something we always love for minimum. Question in chat, the mitts were on the pyramid.
So far, just Quake and Skullwood, so we're gonna check this back room. No some Mario, so we have to do this the hard way.
And we've got a good old vanilla Gibdo.
Ah, they're the worst.
Thief knocks Aussie right into the pit there. That sure is cheap. I didn't quite see what Kohrek found in that last chest, but without the fire rod, he is going to be leaving now.
We're gonna check Bumper Cave next. And so there's an armor piece. Fortunately, without the cape, we cannot get it, so it's more of a tease than anything else.
This being hard mode, you think players might be coming back for that?
Depending on if they find the other one. Technically, there's still 2 in the pool, it just limits how many that you can actually... I guess the word is wear.
So to answer the chat, this is Osse and Kohrek's second game. Osse is up a win right now. This seed is Osse's pick.
Village of roller bars, it looks like. Those things do a vanilla 4 hearts of damage, so you want to avoid touching them as much as possible. And a mirror from the chess game.
So what does that open up for them?
Truthfully, just having the mirror makes rounding so much easier. This Thieves Town, though. Look at all these guards.
Yeah, until they find the flippers, lamp, or the flute, I don't know if the mirror will be immediately opening anything up.
It does open up South of Grove and Graveyard Ledge, though, and we haven't seen any hints. And also the Smith chain for Osse if he goes and gets the mirror first. Or it makes it convenient for Osse, anyway.
The chain chomp makes it pretty difficult to do the normal item dash strat.
This is the chain chomp from Link's Awakening here.
Yep, you're gonna hammer that peg and take him on a walk, are you?
Yeah, exactly. $50 for Osse's effort. Oof. Osse gets bounced by a thief right into a roller bar. Nice wombo combo for him.
Those thieves are just messing him up today.
Kohrek hasn't found much in Thieves Town yet, but because it's Randomizer, you can go straight into the back and the boss will be there. However, he has chosen not to do that.
This being so early in the game, he's going to check the back for items.
Thieves Town living up to his name today, jeez. And Osse picks up his mirror. And more guards. We came during a raid or something. Oh, there's the second armor. That's awful.
Where was it?
It's an armor in Ganon's tower. So either Bumper Cave or Ganon's tower, and we don't know where the cape is either.
Kohrek's having some trouble hitting that switch. Overall, that switch room not as bad as it could be. I've seen some really awful setups in there. And
Looks like Osse101's gonna follow Kohrek. I'm pretty sure 3 items are in the back too, with how little they found up front. Yeah, swordless thieves with 5 hearts, it's almost invert levels of cruel. But it's one of the few dungeons they can full clear with their equipment set, so... Fortunately, the cell block has a couple of free hearts that you can grab. And a piece of heart, so Kohrek's up to 6.
With a full heal to boot.
And we know there's an item in this big chest. 20 bucks. So the last item is on blind or blind substitute.
Alright, let's see what our first boss is gonna be. It's a vanilla blind.
It's a vanilla blind that we can't set up for.
Yeah, so Osse101 is fighting this at 5 hearts, Kohrek's at 6. This isn't easy with the hammer.
Fortunately, they do have some potion safeties, so this isn't the worst in the world. But I like the sync blind fights. Osse101 down to a contact away. Gonna opt to refill. Kohrek does the same. I don't care who you are, this is still a terrifying fight at this low health.
Osse101 pulls through, while Kohrek's gonna use another potion. And just 10 arrows on blind. So if they don't find something soon, what are their options gonna be? For them to stay in logic, they're gonna need to find that lamp or that flute for Eastern or Desert.
A lamp gives them a lot of Death Mountain access too, so that's gotta be soon, I think. I think the Smith route might almost be guaranteed to have something.
Yeah, what's left for them outside of dungeons at the moment?
Or Potter Eastern too.
Right, so they could full clear Eastern at the moment, although they'll be sequence breaking those dark rooms. I think the players at this level of the tournament will be pretty comfortable.
Yeah, well, Randomizer always throws a wrench, especially without that fire rod for that northeastern room. That's, I think...
You never know what you're gonna find in that dark room north of the big...
Right, it's 8 enemies, so that could be literally anything. Oh, never mind. Here's a fire rod for you.
Okay, so now they can finish Skull Woods. They can finish Skull Woods, and that also would make those East Palace dark rooms easier, because there's torches in that bit.
So Kohrek is going to get his ether, but not in the same way that Osse101 did.
Yep, with the mirror, you can of course mirror in there with the Dark World. He's still going to need to pick up his mitts eventually.
So the question about the bosses is that this is set to Chaos Boss Shuffle, which means any boss can be anywhere as long as it's still an item logic.
That's right. If the seed wants to give us 7 cold stares, it will. It could be any.
Well, Kohrek, you should have just stayed in the dark world. There's a bunch of roller bars there. Kohrek setting up for looks like a potion glitch. No, I think he's just buying for safety. I was like, you don't need the potion glitch in Randomizer. But it does look like he's going to do the Eastern and pod play. Nope, wrong again.
Unless he just goes right back over that bridge and back into the dark.
I guess he was just stocking up. He might then go into Skullwoods. And he just wanted the safety for whatever. That boss room is just terrible regardless of who's in it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Fighting in Mothula's room with 6 hearts. I don't suppose it's a surprise he wanted some safety.
So Osse is going to do the Smith route, it looks like. He's going to do this digging game for his 20-something digs and 3 bombs. Honestly, with this equipment set, it actually might even be worth breaking up to see to Death Mountain, just because we have almost everything we need to full clear it.
Yeah, that's right. Without a lamp, they need to sequence break the dark room to get up there, but once they're up there, they'll have access to Hera and East Death Mountain, and I believe Osse has access to Dark East Death Mountain as well.
Right, the only thing he wouldn't be able to do in logic, or well, it's already sequence blank, so whatever, but is Spike Cave and Turtle Rock. Piece of heart from the Smiths. And Kohrek is working his way out back.
And as we come into Mothula's dark room, this room has the potential to give us any number of amusing glitches depending on who's in.
Helmasaur. This is one of the harder ones, I'll have to admit.
Yeah, you have to be really careful that your hammer knockback doesn't knock you right into the spikes. But we do also get treated to what they call the Helmacopter. A peculiar glitch in this room causes Helmasaur's tail to spin uncontrollably. However, that is actually a small help to the players because while he's doing that, he's not able to actually attack with it.
Yeah, so I think it still has its hitbox though, so if you go up behind him, you're in for a world of pain.
Kohrek's opting for the bomb strats to avoid knocking himself into the spikes, but he soon switches back to the hammer as Helmasaur moves himself up into the upper half of that.
Yeah, this fight is hard enough as it is, but swordless makes it even worse.
So, it'll be interesting to see how he finishes off Helma because he doesn't have the bow, and that hitbox for hammering the gem is pretty unforgiving.
Ooh, he's just standing on him. So there is a trick you can do even in swordless. If you hold out your fake sword, it still extends the range of your hammer. Those extra pixel or 2.
I didn't know that. That's good.
which is how he's getting these hits in.
And that should make the hitboxes slightly less unforgiving, and he does finish off him.
And the big key for his trouble. He still hasn't found the last item in Skull Woods. But Osse gets the book for all his efforts running around with the Smith root.
Also for chat, Kohrek did find the fire rod in the graveyard.
Just a piece of art on Bombos. So Kohrek's gonna search through the rest of Skull Woods here to find that second item.
And also, Osse picked up that book somewhere when I wasn't looking, so he can get into Desert now, which looks like it might be where.
Yeah, he got it from the purple chest. Kohrek just getting the red ring from
So that whole Smith's chain just leads him right over to this area of the.
So unfortunately Skullwood's not the play, so is Kohrek gonna... Ooh. This is rough, because Kohrek needs to go to the pyramid first. I don't think he'll be interested in sequence breaking Death Mountain until he does.
Yeah, he might hit the pyramid on his way to Pot Eastern.
And Osse's in a similar situation. Without any fire source, he can't finish Desert himself.
That's right. So unless the lamp is in here...
Oh, Kohrek. You don't need money, Kohrek.
I suppose he needs to fuel his expensive potion head. So both players have checked Sora, so that's not what Kohrek needs this money for.
Kohrek just enjoying the minigames. Oh, there's the flippers. At least we have the boots. So that puts Swamp Palace and Ice Palace into play.
And Swamp would be a pretty convenient one to hit right after this.
So the lamp could be... who even knows?
Well, Osse's checked all the chests in the front half of Desert and he didn't find it, so he's going to save him quick.
Yeah,
he might be heading to Swamp next, following the line.
There is one more item in Desert. We didn't actually find the second one.
Right, so that has to be on Magmolis then, which he can't reach yet, so he didn't have a choice.
Kohrek skipped the Smith route and looks like he's heading...
He's heading the right way to find his myths, and then maybe do Pot Eastern.
Yeah, he's heading to the pyramid, so he's gonna find his myth shortly. And you were right, Osse is going into Swamp Palace after this. With its, 6 items. And free hint tile at the start. Which so far have not been helpful. and they continue to not be helpful. Kohrek really is on a potion kick today.
Could pay off for him if it saves him a few days.
So in chat, the only hint that we've gotten that's worth anything is that there's armor in Ganon's tower. Everything else has been a dud.
Also in chat, the fire rod was on Graveyard's Edge, so a double dip into desert is not actually required, because unless I'm wrong, once Kohrek gets the book, he'll be able to finish.
Kohrek looks like he might be going up to Death Mountain now.
It'll be interesting to see what he finds there.
Yeah, there's a lot of checks up there. Not quite in logic, but
Well, I'll see. Hasn't really found much of anything in Swamp yet.
just that compass in that square room.
And he's doing the West Wing.
Fortunately, this dark room isn't too terrible because a lot of the enemies spawn in the walls. So as long as he keeps basic track of where he is, he can avoid most of them.
And he's made it.
It's gonna potion. Those boulders still
he
do 1
He
damage.
doesn't want to risk the walk from one cave to the next with all these.
Look at this yellow spike in Osse's room. It's just lined up perfectly with the water switch.
Now, to be fair, is there really a nice place for a large spike to be? I mean, I suppose embedded in a wall, but other than
Alright, Kohrek setting up for Paradox right here. Well, Osse has made it to the left side of Swamp. 2 chests that rarely are seen, but always required.
Kohrek opens up the not often seen shop. Looks like it was to buy bombs. I was gonna say to have another source for his potion addiction.
I was expecting him to buy that red potion. And we found
His
out
bottles are probably full. Oh, no, because he just used a blue potion, so he does have an empty bottle, but he's decided against it for the.
I also found it funny that he just bought 10 bombs and then there's the 10 bomb package in that room.
Oh, yeah, that's a situation that can make you go, come on. I haven't really been looking at Osse's side, so I didn't see if he found anything on the west side.
He found a full heart container, but that's it. Gets him up to 7 hearts. Kohrek not finding anything in Paradox either. I can't pronounce it. Oh my god, Omega. but thank you very much for the sub.
And Osse found the big key, and it looks like he's going to go right back to that big chest. Unless he's changing his mind.
No, for some
Or he's
reason
just having trouble with that.
staircase is just terrible. I don't know why. Someone explained to me why it's a, why you can't go up it, and it was just very... Alright, Hookshot Cave. Come on, pay off for Kohrek. Heart container. 50 rupees. And denied from that last chest.
That's a very inconvenient blue fireball there. Nothing you can really do about that.
And 5 rupees.
But with good timing, he gets it and collects his nickel.
So Sequence Breaking Death Mountain, not paying off. We're gonna do Spiral Cave next, and Armos Knights versus Osse. Without really anything that damages them, this might be a long fight.
He's using Bloomerang strats.
That only does 1 damage, and they have like 24 health or something.
What's the hammer do?
I think the hammer still does its 4 damage.
So yeah, pretty long fight, but doable.
48, yeah, okay. So they have a lot of health.
Kohrek has come down from the mountain. I guess he decided not to clear Hera while he was up there.
No, I don't think he did Spectacle Rock either. I'm pretty sure he just went straight right side.
Well, unless something important is sitting there in Hera, it might not make much of a difference whether he does it now or whether he does it later after he's got the Flute of the Lamp and it's in line.
True. Which means we could have progression in Ice Palace at this point. But we also do have Pod and Eastern Palace that have been untouched.
Yeah, neither one is logically clearable yet, but they will be able to do everything except kill Helmassar unless they find them both.
Osse finishing off the fight to rival Ganon. I guess in duration, but that's just a rough fight without any of the weapons that really damage him.
And he gets his green pendant for it.
Might tease him over to the Eastern Palace area. Well, this routing helps Osse a bunch, though.
So Osse's taking those flippers, which Kohrek doesn't have yet, and checking the lakes. It doesn't look like he's gonna go into Ice Palace because he's left his portal behind. But meanwhile, Kohrek's got the fire rod from Graveyard Ledge, which Osse doesn't have.
Doesn't look like he's going to Eastern either because he left his portal behind, because now he can't get out of the water. Yeah, $5 more. gonna go next, Aussie?
Oh wait, he didn't need the portal to do Ice Palace because there's a portal there anyway. I forgot about that.
Right.
But in any case, he still decided not to do.
Trying to think what his plan is next.
Kohrek's got his book, and just like Aussie is gonna take that one screen over and do Desert, he'll be able to finish it with that Fire Rod, unlike Aussie.
Okay, so Aussie is going back to the pod.
So Kohrek's gonna be able to finish off Landmoss, who might be holding our progression.
So he's gonna wrap up Pod, Sahasrahla, and Eastern, hopefully all at once if he can find the bow. But if not, he'll at least be able to finish Eastern. And Kohrek is gonna be able to finish Desert now. Where we know Aussie left an item on the Landmo boss. Thanks, Gramps.
Trading a green pendant for a green rupee. We found our flute in his back shed.
So Death Mountain is entirely in logic, because that's Sphere 1.
Yep, and that's also gonna open up Meyer because he has all 3 medallions, so he's certain to be able to get.
Right, we can get into Meyer. Unfortunately, without Samaria, we can't clear it, but
And with only two items, it might not be worth it just yet. Although there's also the Meyer's Shed and the checkerboard.
right, that's an extra 3 checks there that are really fast, especially with the boots. Let's see, between that and Titansmiths and Mirror, I guess, well... Yeah, I guess that means Lamp could most definitely be an Ice Palace. Then again, Lamp could also be somewhere on Death Mountain in the Hera area.
So, what is it that these runners are really hoping to find next? Like, what item's gonna open up a lot of the world?
Well, Ice Rod for sure, because if they run into a Trinex, you want to be able to beat it.
They're gonna need that bow sooner or later, and they're gonna need Samaria.
But definitely Bow and Samaria are the 2 major items that they want to find. Lamp technically can't be past the Dark Room, because it always assumes you have Lamp for any Dark Room.
That's right. The logic will never expect you to go into a dark room without the lamp, even if you have the fire rod and there's a torch. The logic won't expect you to light that torch with the fire.
Alright. Aussie checking right side. And key. $5. I feel like anytime I hope something's there, it's just $5. Oh, this arena.
We found a lot of stashes of the coins people keep in their cars for tolls.
I think the biggest thing, I think it changes all the piece of hearts to $5, and that's why there's so many of them in hard mode.
Alright, and I think without the bow or sword beams, Aussie wasn't able to do that slick change on the crystal.
Kohrek heading into the back of desert, and of course there's a tiny spike right here in the middle of
Wouldn't be Randomizer without spikes in narrow places, but he cleverly bomb jumps over it, probably damaging himself less than if he had just tried to damage boost through it.
Kohrek versus Blind 2. A little bit of a bigger room for Blind, but still about the same. Couldn't see what that was. Probably was a dungeon item though. And Kohrek getting $20 for all his efforts. But Desert Palace is done. The lamp can be in literally any dungeon, I believe, besides Ganon's Tower. Ooh, mostly taking a death in that dark
Right,
room.
it just can't be behind a dark room. I don't think Ice Palace has any dark rooms, so that's pretty open. But it could be in... Hera doesn't have any dark rooms either. In East Palace, it could be anywhere before the dark room, and the dark room only blocks one chest and the boss.
Right, it can technically be in Mire and Turtle Rock as well, since everything is really in logic. Just can't be past the dark rooms in those dungeons.
We'll need to find some area before we can start searching Turtle Rock.
True
But
enough.
once we do that, the lamp could be there. Bow could be there as well. It's always fun when you find the bow in Mimic Cave.
Who knows? The real lamp could be inside of us all the time.
So, at this point, aside from, I suppose, the ice rod, there isn't really anything that could be trolling them in Ganon's Tower.
Until we know what Landmo 2 is, can't discount the ice rod, but
It would certainly be a hoot if the ice rod was in Ganon's Tower, required to finish off a Trinex and a pendant.
or they find that the ice rod is on pedestal and then they have to make the gamble of whether to get it early or not.
Well, if all they have left is Landmo 2, I wouldn't expect them to go too out of their way for the ice rod on pedestal unless they're passing by, because it's only like a 1 in 10 chance for a particular boss to be a Trinex.
True. Bow unfortunately can't be on ped. Ice Rod could. Lamp can't. Samaria could too.
Samaria could, unless Ice Palace is logically cane locked.
Right, we would have to check Ice Palace first. I know these runners are both adverse to going to it early.
It certainly is a dungeon with a big time difference between full clearing and go.
Right, and especially during Randomizer. It can cause some additional troubles. There's a lot of rooms with 6+ enemies in it.
There are actually 13 places that a boss can be randomized to, including the 3 in Ganon's Tower, but some boss arenas can't spawn every boss.
Yeah, and there's only 10 bosses from the pool to pick. Because 3 of them are doubles. This is rough. There's one of those flying mushroom things in that dark room in Eastern.
It looks like Ossie's noping out of there. Suppose he'll be coming back later once he finds...
So he did find the flute, which probably means he'll do Death Mountain next, but that also means that the rest of those dungeons was pretty much empty. And Ossie still has that fire rod and graveyard ledge orphaned.
Ossie is freeing his duck, so we'll see where he rides at the moment. It looks like he's not going to flute away right away. So is he going back into the south, or is...
He picked up a shovel.
Oh, he picked up a shovel somewhere, so he's picking this spot. He's not in the Dark World, so he can't check the ledge cave just yet.
I think he did that when he did the purple chest route. So he's got a solid amount of checks already done in the overworld. His biggest thing is going up to Death Mountain and then hitting dungeons.
Right, he's gonna stock up on potions as well. And heads to the mire area.
Yeah, Flute and Mitts were early, so he might think that he missed something here. And silvers.
Yep, and from the one frame I could see it looks like it was a 300 stash on that left.
Right. Well, that's half of a bow, but unfortunately it's not the part of the bow that fires.
Those silvers are certainly welcome in Swordless, although this being hard, they'll only work on Gan.
And our fourth sword.
So good to know you'd be at Gold Sword an hour in if this wasn't Sword. Kohrek opts not to go back for the big chest in the swamp, so when he gets his item from the Armos here, he won't have to go back in because it was the...
Yeah, it's a couple seconds save, but anything you can get at this point. And I don't think we saw these checks.
Just 2 heart pieces up on Spectacle.
Yeah, I think Kohrek didn't check these. So, Ossie might go into Terra.
And here's another room you don't see too often. Kohrek is going to stock up on his supplies in here, not really knowing what the boss is going to be.
There's a very nice ice rod, too. A nice rod, if you will.
Yeah, sitting up there on the ether template. So Kohrek couldn't have checked that when he was here last because he didn't have the...
He had the hammer at the time. Could have... And the mirror. But he didn't have the bug, so he wouldn't have been able to get the ice rod.
Okay, so there's really nothing left that could be trolling them in Ganon's Tower. And as for the pedestal, I think it could only be the King of Samaria at this point.
So we are effectively the bow and Samaria from Go mode. The trouble is finding those two things.
Yeah, it sort of depends on what sort of enemy combinations they get in the dark rooms, if they're going to want to look for that lamp, because Ossie has already saved and quit out of one dark room.
that's a good point too. Thanks, Mini Nova, for the tier 1 sub.
Osse finds a thanks game hint, and then unfortunately tumbles right into the hole down 2 floors.
And Kohrek getting his very, not great prize. Yeah, within all dungeons, not getting the lamp means you'll have to do Aga Tower lampless, and especially in Randomizer, that can just be rude.
With the fire rod, it won't be quite as near impossible as it could be, because there are torches in a few of those harder rooms.
And we have Moth? Traded one bug for another.
And just like any time Moth is in a molder room, you can see those spikes spawning over the pit where they can't hurt you.
So Death Mountain doesn't have it either.
He's gonna go over to the east side and do all those checks that Kohrek's already did.
Yeah, which isn't gonna net him much though, so...
So what can he do after that? He's already dived East Palace and Palace of Darkness. He didn't dive Mire while he was there. He only has 2 items, but if he can do the dark rooms, he can finish. Well, not without the cane.
Right. So Meyer has the 2 items, so at least one of them is before the dark room.
So
And then Ice Palace.
So it's looking like that cane might be in Ice Palace. Where else is there really for it to be?
I mean, I don't want to drag him to Ice Palace, but eventually they're going to end up there. And
Another useless hint.
just one after another. They've been top tier this round. I mean, the only fetch quest item we're missing too is the mushroom. Is Kohrek going to ice? He's taking that warp back. This almost makes me wish there was a potions use count at the end of the seed.
Alright, here we go into ice. You can see in Ice Palace there's been a Bombos tile added that can allow you to kill that Freezy in the event that the that the fire rod is in here or locked behind something that's in here. But Kohrek won't need that today because he got that ice rod from Graveyard. Not a bad Pengator room.
Yeah,
Although
fortunately,
those mold arms on ice can be a little annoying.
I mean, he knows the sun prize is magic. I'd whip out that fire rod.
I've got some icy Geldman though.
But that small key makes routing Ice Palace a lot easier, too.
So at this point, I feel like there has to be something in here, right? I mean, it's got to be the Samaria bow or the lamp, one of them. We got to find them soon.
Osse finishes his Death Mountain check. Unfortunately, nothing.
So we'll see where he goes. Because while Kohrek had to dive into ice, he can check Meyer first if he's so inclined. Oh, looks like he's going to ice too.
Yeah, I feel like they try to avoid ice like the plague, but they really try to avoid mire.
That's right, ice has more items and they can finish it. And it is a pendant, but this is all dungeons, so they don't care about that. So
Ugh, look at these rooms. I hardly blame Kohrek for picking up potions that he did, because they're just tearing him a new one.
yeah, that narrow corridor that Kohrek had just got through, there's a lot of ways Randomizer can mess with you there.
Thing is, what I like to use is Ether during a lot of these rooms because it's a quick spell and it does a considerable amount of damage and kills most enemies, but in Swordless, they don't even have that option.
That's right.
Korekador. Finally get into the item dense part of Ice Palace.
Yep, Kohrek got his key from a chest early on, so he could go right into this sometimes logically hookshot locked east side.
There's our lamp, finally.
Alright, so no more anxieties about Dark Aga Tower.
And the
And
bow!
Oh, right after it.
That is definitely going to tease Kohrek over to the Pod Eastern.
Right, and him not having dived those two dungeons earlier like Osse did, it'll be a bit of a time save for him as well.
Especially if you find something like Samaria in the back of Pod Dark Maze or something that Osse didn't finish.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly which dark room Osse noped out of, but if Samaria turns out to be there, and he had a chance to get it, but he didn't, I think he might be a little annoyed.
I believe Bottles and Thieves Town. Osse didn't do the boss of Eastern or the Dark Maze and Pod, but everything else he checked. So the funny thing about Armos is even though that bow was the logical weapon to beat them with, as long as you have a weapon that does damage to them, the game thinks you can beat them.
Right, although the game is definitely geared to suggest you to use the bow on them, it's not required by the randomizer logic.
Kohrek taking the safety room, a nice ice palace, getting some fairies.
And down to 2 hearts, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, these enemies are just beating the heck out of these runners. No prisoners.
And then it looks like he's going to go kill Cold Stare. I haven't been counting his items. Has he got everything? Or is it still possible there's something in the iced tea room?
No keys. I think Cold Stare has a key. Wait, if Cold Stare has a key, that means it's Mario locked. It's a
Ooh,
Trinex.
we've got a Trinex.
Ooh, that's rough for both our runners.
Alright, so Kohrek's gonna need that ice rod from Ether Tablet to finish this. Meanwhile, Ossie's gonna need the fire rod from Graveyard Ledge. Kohrek still needs to do Hera, so he might get ice rod when he's up there, but for Ossie, that Graveyard Ledge, like you said, is orphaned. So who knows when he's gonna go back there.
Okay, so they did find all the items in Ice Palace, though, so they won't need to come back there until much later in the game. That means Kohrek is checking everything still until he finds that ice rod.
Okay, so is it possible that that last key is in the iced tea room, which would mean that,
Did
which would mean the Ice
Kohrek's...
Palace... It looks like Ossie's gonna head that way for us, so we'll see in just a moment. But if the key is there, then Samaria is not required to finish Ice Palace, which means it could be on the pedestal. But if this isn't the key, then they need Samaria, so it can't be on the pedestal, which makes Ped effectively dead.
That's the 5 rupees.
That's right, I think Cold Stare has a key. Which would make
It might be possible that Cold Stare has map or compass.
But then where could the... Do they have the map and compass?
I'll have to check Ossie's menu when he gets down there.
Oh, right. Neither of them checked the big chest, so the key could still be there.
Right, so they might have...
Oh, he did check the big chest.
Ossie didn't do the bomb jump either.
But if my count's right, he's still missing a key. And how many locations are even
yeah,
left?
it is cane locked. As much as that means, it just means Pet is dead. Because he does have both the map and compass.
It looks like he's leaving without even checking what the boss is. Oh, because he didn't do the sequence break, so he couldn't even make it to... Oh, and he's throwing a bomb.
Yeah, good plan to give up on it for now. You can't do it anyway.
Well, luckily for him, since Kohrek couldn't finish off the boss either, and he'll also have to come back here, it's not too much of a time loss.
Ossie knows there's no item in there, and he can also check pedestal before doing it, so... He won't go back in there just to kill the boss.
Well, if he knows that it's cane locked, and he has his bow and lamp, he already knows Pet is dead, doesn't he?
True, depending on if he's thinking about Ice Palace logic or not.
Right, so I would expect him to not go back until he absolutely needs.
The biggest worry, though, is...
When's he gonna get that fire rod?
Yeah, that's the biggest question. That's the game changer right now, is, when Osse gets that fire rod. Kohrek might end up doing a ton too before he gets that ice rod. I don't know how quick he's going to rush up to Hera. I think the fact that he skipped Hera might actually help him though.
Unless he's gambling on putting it off to the end, maybe he wants to do it with G2.
Thanks, Baba Lucan, for the tier 1 sub.
Chat brings up a good point. Osse not having found that fire rod might suspect that it's on the pedestal.
Possibly, but I think he would check pedestal manually before attempting to finish Ice Palace. My biggest worry is him doing a double dip into Ice Palace and then finding out he can't kill the boss anyways.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. It seems unlikely given that he does have all the items.
But yes, he doesn't know that Trinex is the final boss of Ice Palace. Fortunately, the only thing that works on Trinex's head is the fire and ice rod. There's no other way to kill him.
Certainly is an odd quirk of game design that you don't really see in games today anymore, even Zelda games, that an item required to kill a boss is just sitting out of the way in a secret cave. Meanwhile, Ice Palace only has an armor upgrade as its item, and Turtle Rock only has a shield upgrade.
More annoying shadow things. And the pickle room. This is a rough room.
This room has a lot of enemies, so there's a lot of ways it can mess with you in Randomizer, but it is also a kill room, so it is limited in what can be in.
Right, there can't be any things that are specifically bow or fire. Kill only. And Eastern Palace is another Helmosaur. I hate the red popos. They just are terrible. You literally cannot hit the little ones.
Yeah, try to hit their tiny hitbox with your tiny hitbox.
Hitting the little popos is basically a major glitch at this point. Just is not able to be done.
Especially when they decided to go hang out in the wall.
Alright, Kohrek finishing off Eastern. And we have a 7-eye Moldorm for Osse.
It is a brightly colored abomination.
I like how he got stuck up in the spikes for a few seconds. Yeah, the Randomizer doesn't actually change the palette, so they use the palette of the boss that's supposed to be in there.
Is that the case? I've never quite been clear on whether it's that or whether it was deliberate that the Randomizer developers recolored the sprite.
No, I think they just left the color palette of the room the same, because it's based on, I think, the dungeon or something. And that's just how it works.
Yeah, and it's not only bosses that get recolored either. Plenty of enemies can look different, such as those blue Geldmen we saw in Ice Palace.
Kohrek has flute. Well, yeah, okay. Alright, now we're switching dungeons. Osse gonna have a quicker time of this, just needing to go into the back.
Yep, so while each of these runners covers dungeons the other already has, you, the viewers, could take a moment to check out the runners' own streams and follow them if you'd like, because they are putting on some great racing for you.
Yeah, these runners have gone through fire and damnation to get this far in the tournament, having gone through both the qualifiers and the group stages. They've certainly been put through their paces in this tournament.
Well, all the stops are coming out, it seems, in these bracket races. We're seeing hard Randomizer seeds, expert Randomizer seeds, swordless all over. I was gonna say Kohrek having the same thought to bomb jump over that spike, but instead he's gonna use that to preemptively bomb that wall by the big.
Having a spike there, if you control your inputs properly, you can avoid getting knocked back into the pits, but that's saved for someone with better input skills than I have.
Yeah, is that right? You can sort of control the direction you get knocked back by that.
There is a way to manipulate your knockbacks by holding the direction opposite of what way you want to get knocked back, but
For chat, Kane can't be on Ped because Ice Palace is logically Kane locked. We're pretty sure by process of elimination that Cold Star holds a key. And Osse couldn't even reach the boss for that reason because he didn't do the bomb jump sequence break.
yeah, the vanilla way to do Ice Palace is what we assume, like, as a community, or what the randomizer community assumes you're supposed to do. Which is convoluted and involves you doing Ice Palace about 3 times in a loop. But we learned a trick where we just jump over a hole and skip most of that.
Yep, and in the vanilla game, doing Meyer first to get that Kane to skip all that in Ice Palace is a trick that has been known pretty much as long as this game has been out, so much so that they redesigned that entire area in the Game Boy Advance version to prevent that.
So Osse is gonna go into Lanmo and catch up on this dungeon, but unfortunately is going to be disappointed. Osse going down to 1 heart.
Luckily he has his potion.
And takes him out.
So after Kohrek finishes this dungeon, he's going to be down to either Hera or Meyer.
He might Meyer check the area first, but I can't see him not trying to do Hera first.
Is Hera being completable with what he's got? So, but if that's the case, it'll work out well for him because he'll probably check that ether tablet and get his ice rod while he's up.
And I think we're gonna see a Pyramid Fairy now. Having both Pod and Desert Palace done. Gotta hike up with that bomb. Yeah, this is less of a cruel route than it usually is.
And so oddly enough, he doesn't place the bomb
Yeah.
on his way, but
Where is he going?
I guess he forgot that he already checked Pyramid. It was a long time ago. He was just gonna carry the bomb all the way around while he checked it instead of just drop it off, but then he remembers and goes back. And Kohrek's right behind him with that big bomb as well.
Oh, there's
the
Kane.
cane.
So that puts us in a no mode, but until they find the opposing rods, they are not in go mode yet.
Right, and between the two of them, it's looking like Kohrek is likely to enter go mode first, since we don't know when Osse's gonna go back for that graveyard light.
Ossie getting bounced. Where are you gonna go next, Ossie? Ossie's gonna probably go full clear Meyer. This is a pretty rational play, I think.
Right. So it's still possible that he hasn't forgotten the graveyard ledge. He's just choosing to check more item-dense locations before he goes back.
Right. This is something he needs to do, so... It's entirely possible that Kohrek will do the same thing. Kohrek has been trying to avoid going up to Death Mountain again until he's done with the lower section. I think Kohrek might do Aga now.
It looks like that is where he's going. Ossie having a not particularly nice set of enemies in that narrow starting room.
Well, Aga's always a treat, especially in Randomizer. There's a lot of rooms that aren't kill rooms, so they can put literally anything into them.
So why do you think he's choosing to do this now, rather than save it for the end as one normally does in all dungeons?
I'm honestly not 100% sure. Because he knows he's not in go mode. He knows about Trinex, so he knows he needs the Ice Rod. The fire bar in this room is just perfect.
Looks like Kohrek got his shield snatched by one of those tongue enemies.
Yeah, I hope he didn't want that. But based on Kohrek's routing, he'll do this, then Meyer, then Turtle Rock, and then Hera. And if he remembers Ether after or before Hera, then he'll be in go mode. But he is going to full clear, I believe, every dungeon.
Yeah, that is unfortunate because if he did Hera now, he could potentially go mode Meyer and Turtle. As it is, he's gonna full clear all of those.
Whereas for Osse, the question is either he gets bailed out by a hint or he remembers to check Graveyard Ledge just on a whim. Because above the pose is a hint that can pretty much happen a lot.
It's true. And there is a hint coming up right here in the after the cutscene room of Meyer. Kohrek unfortunately took it.
Yeah, Kohrek gets snagged in that kill all room. Or no, that was just a key room, so anything could have... I forgot what was in there, but I hit him for 2. But that's gonna be about 2 minutes. Fortunately, we didn't get any hints for Meyer either, so... Also, I didn't do the Firelock side, he just did the 4-torch chest.
Suppose he wants to put off the cutscene if he can.
Finding all the keys.
Yeah, not having the fire rod, those 4 torches would be particularly annoying to light, although it is possible.
I think he's gonna have to do it anyway, though. Because he is still missing items.
He's on his way back there.
He's not gonna find what he needs, but the quicker he finds the items, the quicker he can get out of here. Oh, he must have contact one of those big guards. Because their spears only do a half heart, I think, but their contact is 2.
So this room Osse is in right now, is this not affected by the Randomizer? Because it looks to me like there are usually vanilla Wizrobs in here.
I don't believe this room is, because it's possible that it messes with the cutscene. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. That's something that you'll have to ask the devs on. Oh.
Well, that hint's just insulting him at this point.
I have to laugh. Because someone posted a clip of the exact same thing, like, yesterday.
Hey, here's the items you just got.
Alright, Kohrek versus Aga. Fairly easy, especially if you have a sword, but unfortunately we don't have a sword, so... Timing hammer swings is, it's really actually not that easy. I'll be
And
honest.
if you remember from way back, hammer strats are required at least in this fight because the bug net is on the lumberjack kit.
Yeah, we are not going to be seeing the bug net unless Kohrek decides to go to lumberjack. But he did take down Aga, and that's one more of the 12 dungeons done. So he is gonna go refill and assume Meyer. Oh, well, after he gets his flute activated, yeah.
Wait, he's going north.
Is he gonna... He's gonna be a legend and go grab the bug net.
Oh yeah.
Look at him go. The hero.
Yep, he wants to do those swagnet strats on Agatu. And here comes our third Helmosaur. This one,
Helmovidi.
a slime.
Now that slime still does damage, so... But fortunately, Helmosaur, you don't really go in the top half of the room.
Yeah, even without Vitreous here, the slime he's left behind has dire effects on the local ecosystem, judging by the appearances of any boss that happens to occupy his room.
And second item was just a piece of heart. Now, Osse's at 12, meaning he's only 2 short of max health in this mode. But that puts his dungeon count up to 7 as well. Now, where do you go, Osse? Oh, don't. No. You don't need to. There's no items there.
So what do you think the play is? It can only be that if he can kill this boss, then the fire rod could be on pedestal, as far as he knows.
That's gotta be his assumption, because if he was counting this dungeon, he would know that he didn't...
Right, so that is making it look like he has forgotten that graveyard ledge check, because I would think if he remembered that, he would check that before he does this.
I mean, even with Samaria, I would go up to Total Rock before diving back here. I can only assume he's just like, I need to finish this dungeon before I go up the mountain. And that's... He's really gonna feel it the moment he gets to that boss.
Certainly would be an interesting seed if the cane from Pyramid Fairy was required to kill Trinex to get a pedestal fire rod, but unfortunately that's not the seed we have today.
Right, yeah, if Kane was required to get to finish Ice Palace. I can only assume he doesn't want to do Turtle Rock without the fire rod. No, because currently the Randomizer doesn't switch enemies to something that can't be killed by normal damage. Good bomb jump, though. That can sometimes be rough. Randomizer likes to mess with positionals. There's a couple of... Like, we've gotten bottles, but we haven't seen any safeties, though. We're missing powder, we're missing both... Well, in hard mode cave.
We know where the armor upgrades are, but they're both in very inconvenient locations.
Right, one is Cape Block, the other one is in Ganon's Tower. Neither of which we can get.
And that is a French vanilla, or potentially vanilla, armor upgrade in Ganon's.
Unless they stuck it way at the top of the tower. Ice Rod is on Ether. Fire Rod is on Graveyard Ledge.
Alright, so Kohrek went up to Easteth Mountain early in the game, but he skipped the whole Hera area Well, he was up there, and he didn't even have the book at the time anyway, so he couldn't have checked the tablet even if he was there. Meanwhile, Osse has unfortunately orphaned the graveyard ledge because he checked the graveyard ledge early on when he found the Titan's myths.
Yeah, with the boot so early, it was a good play by Osse. Unfortunately, it just left that graveyard ledge wanting.
Right, Osse did that before he had the mirror, which was the thing. Kohrek had the mirror when he went to that area, so he was able to get that from the graveyard.
Osse, he's going to Death Mountain. Yeah, there's a Trinex at the bottom of Ice Palace. Of Pendant Ice Palace, too.
So he has that King of Samaria, but with the ice rod. But without the fire rod. It is also possible that Turtle Rock will be locked very early on.
If that first chest is not a small key, that would be very good for Osse. Because it means that he can't get any further than that first room. And he's already done all the checks up here besides Spike Cave. I don't imagine he'll try and do Spike Cave. Kohrek finished with Misery Mire. And is gonna do his checks over here. Kohrek is feeding his potion addiction again.
He's getting his fix while we find out just a moment that Osse is not locked out of Turtle Rock, so he will be going further in. He won't find what he's looking for, unfortunately.
His next breakpoint is the Chain Chomp room. If that's not a small key, he'll be locked again. This is so much nicer in Randomizer, though. Ugh. Okay, the next breakpoint for Osse is the big key chests, which, if it's not the big key, he'll be locked again. If it's the big key, he'll be able to go all the way to Laser Bridge, though.
So Kohrek's taking the western route up Death Mountain. That might indicate that he's going to check Hera before he goes into TR.
He's gonna check Ether right now, and this is gonna put him into Go mode. So at 1 hour, 49 minutes, 35 seconds, Kohrek is in Go mode.
Yep, and while he's up here, he's going to quickly finish off Tower of Hera. He'll probably do Turtle Rock as well while he's here before he goes back for that Trinex and Ice Palace. Or I suppose he might do the Trinex first and then do Turtle Rock on his way to Ganon's Tower.
I think to avoid an extra mountain climb, he's gonna finish GT before he goes back to Ice Palace.
That's true, he can do that because he'll have the crystals after he finishes these two.
Right. He did forget the big key to Hera, though. We do need that.
He forgot to check any of these first floor locations. It looked.
I think he was rushing. He's like, I'm going. I gotta get going. Though at 150, he probably feels a little behind. Especially with how late he found that ice rod. So generally what happened regarding the fire rod is that Osse found the Titansmiths really early and checked King's Tomb and Back of Escape and the Bonk Rocks before even finding the mirror. And he just never went back.
And as time goes on, it looks more and more likely that he's not just putting it off, but he's actually forgotten that he didn't get to check that graveyard ledge when he was up there. It was a long time ago, nearly 2.
Alright. Kohrek versus the Moth on the Tower. Without anything to knock him into, he's kind of a wuss. I think Osse might do Spike Cave now, because he's running out of locations to check.
So with his 4 bottles, Spike Cave is in logic even without the Cane of Burner or the Cape, is that right?
It technically is not. It still requires an immunity item, regardless of how much magic refill you have.
Is that right? The logic doesn't account for how much health refill you have?
No, the current logic for Spike Cave is it requires an immunity item plus 2 magic bars. And magic powder, so you got a fetch quest from it, too.
Is it possible that checking that magic bat will bring him back to the right area of the world?
I hope it teases him over there, yeah. Kohrek on his dungeon 10 will be able to full clear it, but if he finds enough keys, he might be able to skip Laser Bridge. And $20.
Magic curses us with a slightly heavier wall.
Yeah, if it was the cape or something to that effect, that probably would have teased him up there, but... he's running for the portal.
And Big Key was in this fire-locked room in Turtle Rock, and Kohrek also picked up his fire shield. A little late for it to be much use.
Yeah, at least he got his shield back.
I have seen that fire shield be helpful in the Landmos 2 fight against that Medusa.
Yeah, but we haven't seen a Landmos yet.
Well, I mean, in Ganon's Tower, the Landmos 2 fight, because there's a Medusa.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, those heads are really annoying. Osse is gonna finally find his fire rod.
And that puts him in go mode. So, how far behind is he really right now? He's going to have to go and finish Turtle Rock, which Kohrek is in right now. They both need to finish off the Trinex and Ice Palace, but Osse also needs to finish off Skull Woods.
And Aga
which is
1,
also
too.
mostly clear. Right, that's true. So there aren't any dungeons which he hasn't even dipped yet, but there's a fair number of bosses that he needs to kill that Kohrek has already.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple minutes here and there. This will probably take him 2-3 minutes, depending on how the Helmosaur fight goes. And then Aga Tower is 5 or 6 based on the enemies. And then he still has to climb and get back to Turtle Rock, so we're looking at about 10 to 15 minute difference right now.
Right, and I'm not sure if there's really much more opportunity for Kohrek to be tripped up by routing, because as soon as he finishes TR here, he's going to go quickly kill that Trinex and then be back up to Ganon's tower.
But, I mean, anything can happen. It's Randomizer, and they still don't have armor. 11 health isn't a lot, especially when the enemies can do 4. That's 3 hits.
Yeah, badly placed Vitreous or a Cold Stare, especially if that Ice Boss in Ganon's tower is required, or if they've got something nasty in Moldorm 2's room. That could give either of these runners trouble.
Plus, roller bars can be anywhere. We haven't seen enough of those. Never enough roller bars.
Alright, and chat corrects me again. Since Ice Palace is a pendant, we don't need to go there before we finish Ganon's tower. We can finish Ganon's tower, then go back.
Alright, Turtle Rock. What do you have for us tonight? Helma 3. The easiest
4,
Helma. Or 4, I've lost count. So we see both of them fighting a Helma at the same time now.
Yeah, but Osse's got the more interesting one, really.
Out of all the bosses in Skullwood's room, Helma's the best.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen every boss on Makua's room yet, but Helma is definitely an interesting fight in here, not the least because of his spinning tail. Some bosses are actually made easier in here, like Moldorm, because the conveyor belt confuses Moldorm's movement and makes him move slower.
Yeah, he gets stuck in a wall really easily. But both of them take out their bosses respectively. And Kohrek grabs his 7th crystal, so he's gonna be off to Ganon's tower now.
So is it time to begin that thing we...
Oh yeah, I don't think I have chat permission.
I don't know if I do either, but we can
You can
tell
guess
the
all
viewers
the
what it's
same.
like for fun anyway. So we have 22 possible locations for the Ganon's Tower Big Key. Guess a number between 1 and 22, and your guess is the number chest that Kohrek will check that the Big Key will be in.
I love the sprite in this room. It's always creepy. It's like
chests 1 and 2 have nothing.
Small key on the torch for 3.
So to answer chat, this is all dungeons. But since Kohrek has all the crystals, he has the option to do Ganon's tower now. He will, however, have to get that last pendant before he can finish off Ganon himself. So that was 4, 5, 6, and 7, it looks like. And those didn't have the key because Kohrek's going back in. Looks like he's going to the right side next.
Kinda Dark Magician strats. Though he didn't go straight left first.
Dark Magician Light, I suppose.
This room is a little bit kind too. Still Wall Masters, but and no Gyptos here.
Although that shadow did eat one of his cane shots.
Yep.
8, 9.
Here's the other single rupee. We found the money pit.
Okay, so we're up to 11 at the moment.
So map room, firebar room. Though I still hope it's behind the Ice Armos boss.
Yeah, I always hope to see that Ice Armos fight in Randomizer because I like to see how players will handle these different bosses.
Ooh, another fun yellow spike. Oh my gosh, it won't get off.
It's gonna need some careful. Oh, and it pushes him into the pit.
What a great spike, I love him. He's my hero.
Fortunately, he was able to draw that spike north to get him away from the...
Yeah, because Kohrek is not going through the middle door, he doesn't need the extra key from past the compass room. Alright, nothing in those two.
So that was 12 and 13.
Yep, 14 through 17. You can damage boost under those spikes to actually collect the chests. Number 17.
I would think that Randomizer logic would not require a damage boost because of one-hit KO mode, but I have seen situations in Randomizer that really push the boundaries of what's possible without damage.
So grats to Baba Lucan for getting the big key guessing game correct. You win all the speed gaming content you can handle right here on SG1.
Nice trolling Hinox with that switch.
And Osse finished off his Ice Palace too, so he's gonna head up to Turtle Rock. That actually gets him a dungeon up on Kohrek. If he goes full left side, he can avoid doing some extra checks, but
Is it required to check Laser Bridge at this point?
No, you can get all the keys before doing Laser Bridge, I believe.
Right, and he's already made all the checks before then, so he just needs to go to Turtle Rock, get it done, and then do Ganon's Tower. More quickly than Kohrek finishes up Ganon's Tower, goes to do Ice Palace, and then gets back to Ganon.
Yeah, it was actually a little bit faster for Osse to go to Ice Palace. Because Kohrek can save and quit from Ice Palace after he's done and get back to the pyramid. But I mean, the time difference is seconds, really. These Hinox and these kill-all rooms are just really mean.
When chat is pointing out that I am forgetting that Osse is still missing Aga 1.
Yeah, Aga 1 is rough. It's gonna be 5 or 6 minutes still just because of the enemy placement in that dungeon. Kohrek's through the gauntlet, and I hear a Moldorm.
So depending on what situations there are still to come up in Ganon's Tower, it's looking like Kohrek's race to lose at this point. Still possible to get a difficult boss on Moldorm 2 that might push him into the pit a couple.
Those rats are hard mode Dark World rats, so they have 4 health, and they do 2 hearts of damage.
That was one hardy rat. Took an arrow right to the face and kept trying. Our Wizrob conveyor room is full of guards, it seems.
It's really stockpiling on these guards.
I was thinking Kohrek might try to stun them all and then place a bomb, but he opts for the hand.
That slug is another rough enemy. That will do 4 hearts of damage on contact too.
Not to mention that thief making a beeline for him and pushing him into the... Fortunately, once that floor starts collapsing, it sort of isolates the enemies to one side or the other, and then Kohrek is able to make his way.
And not a bad fire room. There are going to be some pretty mean enemies in the middle there. Like a chain chomp or a giant spike.
It looks like the enemies in there didn't give him any trouble.
No, BMO seem to ignore you for the first couple frames that you're in a room. There's the giant spike. Oh, did you want that magic pot? Here you go.
Looks like he's even gonna check the chest while he's here.
Oof. I'll say taking a death. Probably just to refill his health.
An Arcane of Burna was in the TR big chest all along.
That unfortunately doesn't help him because it does not give you immunity in this.
And Kohrek checked the Moldorm 2 chest, didn't find the armor. So interestingly, he didn't check the 2 chests in the Helmasaur room. So the armor could have been in one of those, or it could have been in any of the unchecked locations in the Ganon's Tower base. I would think that knowing that the armor was here in Ganon's Tower, Kohrek would want to check all the chests on his way up, but he did skip two.
I think Kohrek's potion addiction is going to carry him through it, though. Kohrek with 3 hits, despawning 1. There's 4.
Overall, some very solid bug net stretch.
Yeah, the bug.
I don't believe he took any damage in that fight, which is difficult when all you've got is the bug net.
Yeah, bug net daga is not fun, but it looks really cool if you can do it right. So we will not be seeing Ganon just yet, unless Kohrek trips into the hole. Still got a few more minutes of content left. Kohrek not taking any chances. And Osse is finishing up his Helma 4.0.
If I remember rightly, those blue potions only become available once you give the mushroom to the witch, isn't that right?
I
In the
believe
vanilla,
that's
I mean.
I believe that's Ocarina of Time.
Well, if that were the case, that would imply a pretty compelling reason for Kohrek to be addicted.
Alright, Osse dropped off of Turtle Rock just to grab a red potion, but I think he's gonna go straight for Ganon's Tower himself.
Kohrek's having a little trouble with his Anti-Fairy, and without the powder, he doesn't have an easy way to deal with it. He's gonna have to use one of his potions. Misses the bomb position just slightly, so he has to walk all the way back to the southern half of that room to hit that.
Yeah, that room is just slow and randomizer. Optimizing it is just rough.
Yeah, when you get an anti-fairy or such in those narrow spaces, it can be a real.
Kohrek doing the bomb jump here. And Osse is getting into Ganon's Tower. I'm hoping he goes full left. Because these first 2 chests weren't keys. And if you can avoid doing the compass room, which just had money, you can gain a couple, well, about a minute back. is going to kill the enemies, so he is avoiding the right side. And Kohrek is finishing up. I mean, what do you think? At 2:15, you gotta feel behind even in modes like this, right?
It did take him a while to find that ice rod.
Right, he found it up on Death Mountain.
Not to mention that Titan's mitts that was on Pyramid that he didn't get to right away when it was.
Swordless Cold Stare is always rough. Or Cold Stare. Try next. 5 hits from the hammer on each head.
Yeah, they say Swordless Argus is a menu boss, but Trinex has his elements of.
Trinex's menu boss that can kill you. Oh, he's down to 1 hit.
Yeah, maybe not as much switching as Argus though, because you don't need to switch for each and every one of those puff balls. Still a lot of menuing going on.
There we go. Trinex down, so Kohrek is off to face off against the pig. Osse working up Ganon's tower now. After getting his big key in the rando room. So Kohrek doesn't have any blue potions anymore, so he's going into Ganon with 7 hearts and 1 magic bar. Ooh, Ganon Hug with green mail is full 8 hearts of damage.
Yep, that's rough, and having to use that hammer to damage him, you gotta get pretty up close. Still, at this point, how many times would Kohrek have to die to Ganon for Osse to really...
Depends on where he's dying, but Ganon's tower wasn't too terrible. It's gonna take 12 strikes of that hammer to get through each phase. Looks like he got the... No, still on phase 1. I think he's waiting for a good position. I think he got half the hits he needed there, so...
Yes, and just a reminder to chat, we do know where both the armors are, but we didn't get either one. One was in Bumper Cave and we never found the cape, and the other was in Ganon's tower, but we didn't open the whatever chest had it.
Kohrek taking a hit from a bat. But oh, he did have another blue. And he's in phase 3 now.
Yep, so using that potion just as he enters phase 3.
Puts him at 10 hearts, that's about 3 hits.
Or 2 hugs.
Alright, phase 4. We have the arrows.
Looks like he's going for Torch Glitch first.
He's making sure he gets that. There's one. Oop, he got a bat off. Careful, Kohrek. Yeah, see, that's... If you set up your directional input, you can avoid taking damage or getting knocked into
it
the
looks
pit.
like Kohrek used his menu there to get the right input to not fall into that pit.
It's a double, just one more.
Just shy of the triple, but he is gonna finish off Ganon now. All right, let's get our GGs in chat as Kohrek walks the bridge into the Triforce room.
With an official SRL time of 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 52 seconds. Kohrek is finished in first place.
And Triforce says, and C. And now for Randomizer, we are treated to the menagerie of monstrosities that is the end.
Alright, it looks like Kohrek is here in the setup room. We're gonna see if we can get him in here for an interview. Alright, Osse is working on Moth 2. Moth 2, yeah. Fortunately, Moth on Moldorm 2 isn't really too threatening. And this bumper room. Moth too low. And we are joined by Kohrek. Kohrek, GG's.
Thank you.
So how did you enjoy that seed?
That was just exhausting. I'm exhausted. I don't know what else to say.
When you fell down to the bottom of Ice Palace into the boss room, like, what was going through your head?
Well, I didn't feel all that bad. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have to go through this again, but I was kind of thinking. So I wasn't worried about checking some of the overworld stuff I had left at that point before going for bosses, because it was like, I'm getting the same bosses over and over again, and I can kill them, so whatever, it's fine. And then I forgot one I could kill, so I don't know. It was okay though, I guess.
So getting that ice rod for go mode at 150, did you feel like you were in a good spot after that, or did you feel a little...
Once it was not in Ganon's Tower, I was kind of thinking it would be there. Once it wasn't there, I'm like, Osse could have actually had that before going into ice, and that could be an issue for me. But, you know, I didn't feel awful. I thought generally I routed well. That was the big thing that was a little bit of a question mark.
Well, what's interesting is that you went into that fight missing the ice rod. Meanwhile, Osse went in missing the fire rod because he didn't check the graveyard.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think the two of you routed opposite directions in Dark World. He had the Titans Woods very early, and he was able to check both King's Tomb before heading into the Skull Woods and Village of Outcasts area. And you ended up checking King's Tomb using the mirror and regular gloves.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely... I don't know. I mean, I was going to do Pyramid Catfish before too long, but it seemed pretty likely that I could clear up most of West Dark World, so that's kind of what I went for.
I definitely enjoyed that Skullwoods Helmosaur fight with the bottles, and just
Yeah. Basically, from that point on, like, my heart would not stop racing for the entire seed. Like, this was just like on the edge of your seat type of seed to play. Like the entire time, there was just so many anti-fairies and no powder, and like I don't know, like it was just really exhausting.
we did find powder in Spike Cave. We found Burna in Turtle Rock Big Chest. We saw one armor, and the other armor was somewhere in Ganon's tower.
Yeah, it was just like there was nothing safe about this seed. It was really crazy.
I mean, we were just talking about how you having a potion addiction because that was your only safety, really.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I came into this. I was actually gonna do a couple archery game rounds like my first time in that area, but it completely slipped my mind. But I knew I wanted to buy at least one of each upgrade, maybe more if I needed to refill. Primarily because getting to 35 arrows makes Vitreous really easy, but I guess I didn't really have to worry about that because Vidi was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, we saw a lot of Helmosaurs, but no Viddies. Yeah, the biggest weird one was definitely that Trinex boss. Especially since Ice Palace is very long to go back through.
So, Kohrek, I am curious. You did West Death Mountain pretty early, but you skipped Tower of Hera your first time up there. You couldn't have gotten the ice right anyway because you didn't have the book. But I'm curious as to your reasoning for skipping the tower first time you.
Oh, I didn't climb the first time I was up there simply because I think at that point my only boss killing item might have been hammer. I don't know, but it just didn't seem like it was worthwhile. The reason I had actually gone up there was more to get. I just got mitts, I think, at that point, and there were a whole lot of chests on East Death Mountain, so I just really wanted to get maybe a heart or two before I thought I was going to end up in Pod and Eastern at that point, but then I found that book and it took me other places for a long time.
Yeah, it did take both of you a while to get to Ice Palace, which had both the lamp and the bow in it, and then also both of you took a long time to get to Shahasala, who had the flute. I think both of you didn't find that until past the hour mark. Yeah,
that was... it kind of felt bad, but at the same time, I thought there was at least a chance he did something similar, so I was hoping that was the case. Because in Randomizer, you don't really want to go towards Eastern without the lamp. I mean, the lamp could be over there, but you just don't want to do that.
So it looks like Osse is on Aga 1. Pretty easy Aga 1. I think there was only one blue ball.
He's gonna get his full heal right before he drops into the Ganon.
I think he might just go for it. Yeah, he is going to.
So, have we seen how many potions he has left? He's got.
I think he bought some red from the Death Mountain shop. And he doesn't have an immunity item, so he doesn't really need magic all that much for this fight.
Yeah, he's got silvers. If he gets the torch glitch, he should be fine in terms of magic. I do see on his menu he has at least one empty bottle.
Caught in the corner.
It looks like he took a hit from the fire bat while he was up there.
Ooh, he got hit a second time.
Looks like he's not going to use his potion just yet. He's going to try to get through phase 2 before he uses those.
Yeah, these fire bats, they do 4 damage. And he's in phase 3.
Looks like Ossie's in chat. He's telling us he's got 2 green potions.
How does he know? Gets the torch glitch. Ooh, that was close. And GG's to Ossie. Looks like Ossie is finishing with an SRL time of 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 12 seconds. And while we try and get Ossie in here, so Kohrek, this is your second win, which means you're moving on to the top 16 now. If I bring up the thing, I can see who you're facing, but meanwhile, we are joined by Ossie. GG's, Ossie.
GG.
GG.
Kohrek.
So how did you enjoy that wonderful seed that you had?
I guess it was fine. It started off really nice. Like I sequence broke the Moon Pearl, and that felt really good.
I think you ended
And
up with
my Dark Worlds went really well. I got the myths right away, and then that got me it let me clear the Village of Outcasts area. Or so I thought.
Yeah, you ended up having the mitts before Kohrek by a decent degree. Found the Ice Rod considerably early too, because Kohrek broke up to Death Mountain, but didn't do it before the book, so we never ended up checking Ether Tablet until very late. But it was just unfortunately, it was just the routing, because you ended up isolating Graveyard Ledge, it looked like.
Yeah, so what I think happened is when I got the mirror, I was too focused on what I was currently doing. So Thieves Town and South Dark World, that I just forgot about Graveyard Ledge. Because the way I was routing, it makes no sense to skip Graveyard, or to isolate it.
Well, you first hit that area before you even had the mirror. You checked Bonkrocks, King's Tomb, and the Back of Escape all pretty early, and unfortunately ended up with that graveyard as an orphan location.
Yeah, I think it was because you save and quit from Catfish, and then restarted at Sank.
Yeah, but so what I should have done is taken the mirror from Village of Outcasts and gone to Graveyard right away. And so that way I wouldn't have to go to that area ever again. And that was my thinking in full clearing Thieves Town.
Yeah, but it is true that for a while you had more item-dense locations available, so you really couldn't have been blamed if you checked a lot of the world before you ended up going back to that graveyard.
Yeah, like that's also true, but I was full clearing pretty thoroughly, I think.
There was very little the two of you didn't end up full clearing. I think the only thing Kohrek didn't full clear was like Laser Bridge. but he still did most of Turtle Rock as it was.
Yeah, and then my other mistake is with the flippers. So my read was that I should follow flippers, and that's why I went to swamp right away. But then I stayed out of ice because on Randomizer, sometimes you get some difficult rooms in ice, and so I just put that off. Went through all of Pod and Eastern, and I think Mountain first.
I think Ice specifically was kind of cruel, having both Lamp and Bow in it, but also it being locked by Samaria.
And not to mention a Trinex.
And the Trinex at the basement was especially mean.
Yeah, so
Especially on
both
my
of you dropped into that fight without the means to complete it. Kohrek dropped in without that ice rod that he needed from Ether Tablet, while you dropped in without the fire rod.
Yeah, but it was worse for me because I made a special trip just to find I couldn't beat the boss.
Yeah, when you went back into Ice Palace to get that pendant, that was when we were fairly certain that you had forgotten the Graveyard Ledge.
No. Maybe, actually. I forget what all I had open at the time.
I think you were trying to finish it before you went up to Death Mountain again to finish the other dungeons. Because I think you wanted to avoid diving Turtle Rock without it.
Kind of. I also felt really behind at the time. So that's why I went to Turtle Rock before even checking the Old Man.
I didn't even notice that you didn't check the Old Man very late.
And then the Spike Cave. I think it was out of logic. But, yeah, I forgot about Graveyard Ledge.
Yeah, we only found Berna in the big chest in Turtle Rock, and I guess that was Fire Rod Lock, so... Yeah, I don't even know where the cape was. And we didn't find any armor, we just knew where the armors were.
Yeah, one of the armors was locked behind Cape.
Nobody found that cape to go up to Bumper Cave, and we also didn't find it wherever it was hiding in G2.
Alright, so it looks like Kohrek will be moving on to the bracket of 16 and facing off against either Dracaris or Brewers fan JP after they finish up their 3 matches. Neither of them has a match won yet, so I don't think they have played against each other yet. Do you have any preference, Kohrek?
Nah, I mean everybody, earned their way into brackets, so I'm looking forward to watching their matchups and facing whoever wins.
All right, we'll look forward to those matches for sure. Any final comments or anything from the runners?
Just want to thank Osse for the good match this year. We had 2 crazy seeds and great competition throughout. Thank you guys for commentating. Thanks to everybody out there for watching. Thanks to the tracker and all that fun stuff. And that's it for me.
Yep, and those watching, don't forget one last time to give these runners a watch. They are both quality runners to have made it this far, and they played a very long seed for us tonight.
I'd just like to say that I wish I could have kept our 2 matches closer. I feel that I didn't play my best in either one of them.
Alright, this has been Chloe, and joined by Shularoon, and thank you guys for watching tonight. And there are definitely more races going on. We have a race at 9:30 versus PRD Wong and the Lane. That's on ALTTPR Randomizer. Well, My bad. I'm not supposed to promote that one. I don't know if there's any more ALTTP races though tonight. You can look through the schedule at the bottom of the list. They know they're doing that super long thing on Speed Gaming 3. Anyway, have a great night.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone.